This is Marketing Jam, a show featuring the brightest minds in marketing. Marketing Jam is brought to you by Cyber Impact, the email marketing platform made specifically for Canadian small businesses. Go to cyberimpact.com/jelly, create a free account, and start sending CASL-compliant promotional emails in just a few clicks.
Well, I'm going to welcome you to the next episode of Marketing Jam. We have Roanne from Coast Capital Savings, which, full disclosure, I am a member. So, but again, no agenda here, just the fact that you should know that I am a member and,
it makes us happy.
And a fan. And we were mentioning before the interview that I actually am an OG Coast Capital member because I was originally a Richmond Savings member, mostly because I was excited because it was in Tsawwassen, where I grew up, and you could get a golf shirt with a dinosaur on it, and you became a member. And then shortly thereafter, it became Coast Capital Savings.
Yes.
Where, and now where Jelly lives and where I live, we actually only have one bank in our entire town, and it is a Coast Capital.
And it's us.
Yeah,
it's
Coast
us.
Capital Savings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Glad to be of help.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And you are part of a special series that we're doing with B-Corps, because Coast Capital Savings is a B-Corp.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go there, I want to know about you and how you ended up in the role you are here today in.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a journey. I, up until a couple of years ago, was sort of a career marketer, unless you count kind of my start into marketing, which was really graphic design. And at that point, I started getting pulled into all of these strategy discussions. I just kept getting pulled back in. So I kind of figured out that maybe I should go more into marketing and advertising and communications. I worked for a number of different companies, some small agencies as well, but for the most part, client side. Just more than 10 years ago now, I actually joined Coast Capital Savings as brand manager.
And I assume you liked brand side versus agency side.
Yeah. I mean, what I found, the reason why I kind of went that direction is I found that I had an ability to really kind of marry what the agency was looking to get across and what the client really needed. And kind of find that middle ground, because, sometimes we're coming at it from different places, right? To find that middle ground where that creative is really still coming across and doing its job, but also those business objectives are getting achieved at the same time. So that's why I found my sweet spot there.
And we were talking, you worked with Josh Dunford, like the genius from Burnkit, and you built the original Coast Capital site, which had Jane, right? Was it
Julie.
Julie. Yeah.
Yes.
Which was what? Explain Julie to listeners.
So Julie, when you went to the Coast Capital homepage, Julie was always there, and she was kind of sitting at her desk as the kind of Coast Capital teller, except for she was hilarious. She was always doing these wacky things, and it would change depending on what time of the year it was. Maybe it was RSP season, or maybe it was spring break, and she would have a beach ball. So just kind of inserting that brand immediately when you're landing on that webpage. And obviously web pages are kind of serving different purposes today, but it was definitely a way to kind of infuse that quirky Coast Capital brand right off the bat.
And that was way ahead of its time.
Yes.
Right? And so part of your job was managing a Josh who would have all these ideas, but then how do you put it into place? Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. The Coast Capital brand and I am an OG member as well. We were talking about that.
From the other side, though.
From the other side.
Because two credit unions became one.
Yes, three actually.
Oh, three.
Yeah.
So like the song,
Richmond
Savings, one, like the Spice Girls song, right?
Right? Yeah. Richmond Savings, Surrey Metro Savings, and Pacific Coast Savings all came together to form Coast Capital. So that was an appeal, but the Coast Capital brand, especially at that time, was really ahead of its time, as you say, because it was clearly differentiated from other financial institutions. I mean, it was quirky. We were saying things that banks didn't say.
Because you're not a bank. For those that don't know, for listeners that don't know, a credit union is not a bank.
That's true. Yeah, 100%. And we offer pretty much the same products and services as a bank would. The difference is that we are actually in business for our members. So we are a member-owned credit union.
Like Costco, but not really.
But not really.
Yeah.
Not really, because you get a say. You get to vote for a board of directors.
I don't get to do that at Costco.
No, you don't.
But I do need a membership.
Right.
Yeah. So you become a member at a bank.
Yes.
And you legit have ownership and say and direction in where the company's going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you are been there 10 years now?
Yes. So on with the story we go. So held different roles within marketing, and eventually I was asked to lead the overall marketing team at Coast. Did that for a few years, and around that same time, I was also getting very interested personally in social and environmental impact. And there were a few things that kind of led me there. My kids and wanting to make sure that there's a future for them was one of them.
And you're a horse rider?
Yeah,
so
I'm a horse rider.
You want animals?
Yes.
Be well
I'm an outdoors person.
And you've moved to the island.
I've
which
moved
is
to
a little
Vancouver
more,
Island.
take care of the earth.
Yeah, a little more rugged. When you're on an island, it's kind of different, right? You're all in it together. I wanted to do work in this area. I was trying to figure out how can I take the skills that I have and use those really as kind of a force for good within business. And that's how I got into corporate social responsibility or sustainability or social purpose, whatever you want to call it, doing sort of purpose-driven work that is not only creating profits, but at the same time kind of serving something bigger and something more, and making sure that the world is becoming a better place. Yeah.
And when we talk about CSR, which is a term used a lot, especially in marketing, is that B-Corp has just, correct me if I'm wrong here, and help me explain this, B-Corp has taken CSR and created an assessment tool, like a ruler for businesses to say, hey, if you call yourself a B-Corp and use the emblem, you've adhered to these rules and these standards, and you've gotten like 86 or above on the test.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Or 80 or above.
80 and above.
80 and
yes,
above. Okay.
You must be. You have to score 80 or above on the assessment to become certified, as well as do some other things. The B impact assessment is awesome, and the most awesome thing about it is any business can use it. So anybody can go on, do it for free. It's a free tool available to see kind of where you're at and how your practices are standing up against others. And the other really cool thing about the assessment actually is that it's not just one assessment. There are many different versions depending on the size of company you are, depending on the industry that you're in. So it really is sort of catered to you, and is benchmarking against what you would want to benchmark against. Yeah.
And part of why we're doing this series is that we as Jelly recently became a B
Yes,
Corp.
congratulations.
So, thank you. And so we wanted to celebrate that along with other B Corps like yourself.
Yes.
And again, we talk a lot about influencer marketing and product placement. Tell us about the product that you're wearing.
Yes.
I know this is not, you aren't being paid to wear that or endorse it, but tell us about your necklace.
Pura is getting lucky here. This is a Pura, losing the term that they have a very
an
specific
emblem
term,
or
very specific term. It'll
talisman.
Talisman.
Yes,
talisman. You've got it.
Okay.
Wonderful. So it is a Pura talisman. Actually, this one stands for direction. It's a compass rose, and it's just kind of giving you the confidence that you're heading into the right direction. And actually, it was very meaningful for me because I bought this after having the opportunity to talk on TV about B Corps. And honestly, it was one of the proudest moments in my career, being able to get up and talk about organic coffee and beer coming from an organic farm. And jewelry that is made from reclaimed metals, and cleaning products that aren't harming the earth, and so I bought this as kind of affirmation that that I was heading in the right direction. Yeah.
So those that are listeners and watchers, they're in an office. Maybe they don't have the energy, or they're not in the position to go ahead and become an official B Corp. Right? It's a lot of work, and there's some standards, and you have to be an owner of the company. But what are some small decisions like you made at Coast Capital that can make a step in the right direction? Like which coffee to purchase?
Yes, the coffee purchase one is a great example. I mean, I'll talk about that, but it's across the map. What the B Corp assessment looks at, it looks at kind of your governance model. So how are you managing your organization? It looks at your workers. So how are you treating your people? And that's everything from creating a diverse and inclusive workplace.
Not a divisive one.
No, not a divisive. No, the opposite. To what kind of benefits or education are you providing your people? It looks at how are you giving back to the community? Are you volunteering? And also it looks at the planet piece and the environment and your emissions and all kinds of things around that. The coffee example is actually another component of the assessment. So you're also asked in there, your suppliers, are they local? Are they from minority populations? Are they owned by minority populations? And Salt Spring Coffee, so they're B Corp as well, and actually my favorite coffee brand, selfishly. Nice. I like their Sumatra blend.
Good to know.
Long time drinker. But we actually got together and talked about how could we work together. And what we ended up doing actually was trialing some of their blends in our head office, where in Surrey we've got quite a big building there, quite a few people working there. And we're able to get, kind of the buy-in from everybody. I feel like coffee is a little bit of a sensitive topic, but everybody really liked it, had really great feedback. And now, so we're changing that over in the majority of our business, I would say. Our branches are just starting to get this coffee as well. And then, we're talking to Salt Spring about how we can continue to advance our relationship. So it was a real sort of win-win. And, you do see this happen within the B Corp community where, not unlike consumers wanting to do business with somebody who shares their values, the same thing happening. And then that also helps you if you are a B Corp and you're wanting to up your score on the assessment as well. Yeah.
So we're using the term B Corp a lot.
Yes.
How would you describe it in like an elevator pitch style? Like if someone asks you in an elevator, what is a B Corp? How would you describe it?
Yeah, a B Corp meets high standards of social and environmental impact.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's put on by an organization in the U.S. and it's all across North America, around the world.
Yeah,
right?
around the world. Yeah. I think actually we're upwards of now 2,700 companies around the world, and hundreds of different industries, and I think 60 different countries or something like that. So it is a global movement. The U.S. B Corp community is a big one, but Canada actually I think has the second largest B Corp community around the globe. Yeah.
And bonus for Canadians that are thinking of applying, because we offer maternity leave and paternity leave in Canada, you get some great points for that.
You do.
You don't even need to do anything.
No.
You just say we're Canadian, thus I get like a bunch of points.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
So question about trends, and I've seen it where things can become trending for a while. And some people are saying, well, like Tom's shoes, one for one, and Tom's glasses, and you see all these like Tentree here in Vancouver.
Yes.
Why do you think there tends to be a trend towards giving back and CSR?
Yeah, great question. And I've actually done a lot of work researching this over the past year, different sort of cause marketing approaches. The one for one actually being probably the approach that is the most successful. And I think it's because it's simple. It's easy to understand, right? Like we as marketers know that inherently, that our messages need to be simple and straightforward. And so the fact that I'm going to buy my Tentree t-shirt, which looks really cool. I'm
made here in Vancouver.
Made here. I'm standing up for something I believe in, and then a tree gets planted on my behalf. Like boom, that's really easy for me to understand, right? I think we have to exercise caution with these approaches as well, that we're not just flooding the marketplace with a bunch of stuff that people don't need. So we have to choose these causes carefully, but certainly it is a trend that we're seeing, and I think it's really that instant sort of gratification that you get as a consumer, that you're getting something that you want and you've done something good as well.
And what would you call the difference between maybe a company that continues to operate, it doesn't treat its employees good, like I'm using B Corp as some of their assessments. It is divisive internally, but it's it has a really poor environmental impact, and they don't care about anything that's on the B Corp assessment, but they make a really great donation every year.
Yeah.
Right, and they say that's their CSR and that's their. Whereas the flip side of a company could maybe be really inclusive of its hiring, be really great with its environmental impact, but because of that, maybe it affects their bottom line. So they don't make a charitable donation every year. They're acting in such a way that maybe puts a charity out of business.
Yeah.
Because they no longer are polluting that lake.
Right.
Because they've put their stuff elsewhere that costs them a lot more money.
Yeah.
So what would you call the difference between those two companies?
Yeah, I mean, the company that is not doing good things.
Yeah, and but they make a big
but
donation.
Is making a big donation. That is maybe more sort of traditional CSR.
The big check gift,
or even
right?
corporate philanthropy in a way, right? And I couldn't disagree with that approach more like, so you're basically doing a bunch of bad and then you're going to offset it with some good. But I think the problem with that model is you're never actually able to fully offset the bad that you're doing, right? And trying to measure that is complicated as well. So so that's a problem. I mean, I think if an organization is doing a bunch of really good things, but because of that, they've chosen to invest that way. Like, I think that's great, actually, right? I mean, there are different ways to create social impact and different business models. And if you're not able to make a big charitable donation, but you haven't created a problem in the first place, like, that just seems very logical to me that would be the direction that I would recommend going.
I like the idea of B-Corps, like people becoming B-Corps to put charities out of business. It sounds really counterintuitive and really almost bad and evil, but it's like we're putting charities out of business.
Well, they're not out of business; they're just not needed. Like,
which would be a good thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Less problems.
Yeah. So, what motivates you? And if we can get personal here, what motivates you to do good and to be better and to push Coast Capital Savings to, live out the B Corp values? Yeah,
that's a great question. I could go all over the place with that one. I mean, I definitely feel like there has been this grief that is overwhelming, a lot of people. Things are kind of messed up south of the border. We're hearing things from the UN that we have 12 years left to kind of fix these problems that we've created and get on the right track. Otherwise, we're going to be in deep trouble. So really, I think you can kind of go two ways with that. You can you can go three. You can pretend it's not happening, which a lot of people do.
Head in the sand.
Yeah, it's painful, right? It's hard. We don't know how to solve these problems, or I personally maybe don't know how I can make an impact. So that's one thing. You can just kind of succumb to that grief and let it overwhelm you, and then
be Eeyore.
Yeah, be Eeyore, exactly. Or you can actually do something about it. And at the end of the day, and this is one of the reasons why I sort of transitioned from marketing into more social responsibility work. I want to be able to say to my kids that I did something about it, or talk to them even today that I'm doing something about it, and model that for them, so that not only can I sleep at night, right? But also, I can model that behavior for them, because there's no better way to teach kids. I really, really believe that. You can tell them, but they're not going to listen. You got to show them. And hopefully they will take that forward in their lives as well, and kind of be the change makers we need to turn this big problem around.
And working at, some people would call a bank, but you'd have to correct them and say, I'm a credit union. You, at night, when you go to sleep, and at night when you drive home, or ferry home, or, helijet home, or however you get home, you can say, we actually made a difference today.
Absolutely. And, Coast Capital, we do a lot of great things. We scored, quite well on every area of that B impact assessment. But what we're really in business to do, and what I feel really differentiates us from the banks, is we really care deeply about the financial health and the well-being of our members. And I've seen this come to life in so many different ways, and I hear stories every day about how we're kind of going above and beyond. And ultimately, that's about helping our members really achieve what's important to them, right? Everybody's financial situation looks different, and it's fluid. It's always changing. And so that's what, kind of makes us different. And that's another reason why I'm super proud to work for Coast.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, getting a bit personal here, are you an iPhone or an Android person?
iPhone, 100%.
And what are apps that you can't live without on a daily basis, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, you know what? I had a feeling you were going to ask me this question, but I'm not a big app person.
Okay.
I'm just not. I'm looking for more excuses not to look at my phone.
Great.
And, I mentioned that I'm kind of an outdoorsy person, and, the odd day that I leave my phone behind for some reason, or I forget it, it's like incredibly freeing and refreshing. Yeah. I actually broke it over the Christmas holidays, and I
purposely?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not purposely. And, it was terrifying, but after I got used to it, it was kind of, freeing. So,
But you
So
don't
I'm not a
use
big app person.
But no geocaching or All Trails apps?
Oh, I was going to say All Trails is
Okay.
actually one that I really love. And then, of course, there are the apps that just make my life easier, like my Honk mobile app and things like that. The
What's that app?
Coast Banking app, Honk Mobile.
Okay, I don't know that
Yeah,
one.
maybe it's an island thing. It's possible, but it's just instead of having to go to that stupid machine at the parkade.
Oh, yes. Pay by phone.
It's just an app. You just
awesome.
done. Like I walk up, go to my meeting. So things like that, but yeah. So I try to use my phone for business and what I need it for. Calendar's a big deal. The sort of Google ecosystem and docs
Gmail.
and stuff is really useful. Gmail, but I try to sort of limit it to that. Yeah.
And any sort of like podcasts, books, magazines, e-newsletters that you'd recommend for?
Yeah. A podcast that I really like that you may be familiar with is called the Story Brand.
Yes,
Do you know that one?
Donald Miller.
I love that one.
Okay,
I really like Donald Miller. I mean, he's such a smart guy.
Yeah.
I know he's written a whole bunch of books and whatnot too.
Blue Like Jazz is his claim to fame.
Yeah, you can kind of consume, his content in different ways.
Yeah.
But I just, I find I really like the pace. The pace that it's moving is really good for me. Cool. And I like.
Hey Donald, if you're listening, my second cousin works there.
Oh no way!
Yeah, so
wow! That's great. Yeah. I mean, I love how he gets into kind of the brain science behind stuff too. I mean, when we think about advertising years and years ago and like how that's evolved, but you can pull kind of similar themes out of it, and so I appreciate the way that he takes that approach. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And anything else, e-newsletters, books that you'd recommend for folks?
No, like if you want to talk life hacks, like my life hack is actually like nutrition. Yeah.
Great.
That's how I keep it all together.
Nice.
Because
awesome.
when you love your job and you want to kind of bring your best game every day, but then you also have other commitments, family, your hobbies, whatever that is. You need energy. You need to perform. You need to keep your immune system going, right? So actually, during one of my mat leaves, I had the opportunity to get some formal education in this area, and I just find that by figuring, and I've had friends that I've kind of worked with on this and collaborated with on this. By figuring out what eating kind of, we won't call it a diet, but like regiment works for you. Like, you see the trends and the fads. It's like, be paleo, be vegan, actually do what works for you, right? For the different reasons. But, do what works for you in terms of energy. There's lots of supplements that help with that as well. So that's like my biggest kind of life hack is making sure that I'm just giving kind of myself what it needs to be able to perform. Yeah.
Very cool. Those that are listening and are really inspired and motivated and said, man, I've always wanted to get involved with a charity, or, I want to, give back, especially because, they're motivated by the marketing efforts of it and the growth. What are some simple ways that people can get involved, and what are some things that they could do to kind of enter into the CSR space that you would kind of recommend?
Yeah, I love that question. I was thinking about that on the way here today, actually. And how I started getting into the space, and it was actually through volunteering.
Okay.
And volunteering,
like offline, in real life,
IRL. Life with people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And when I started volunteering, I didn't realize it was called volunteering.
Yeah.
Like I just, I signed up to do something.
What did you do?
I actually worked with the David Suzuki Foundation.
Yeah, great choice.
With their, I don't know if you know, their Queen of Green, but a program basically to help other families kind of like green their life in different ways. Yeah, it was really cool. And I learned a lot in terms of like how far and fast to push people. But it's a great way. I mean, first of all, people are so appreciative for the help, right? And it just gives you the ability to kind of figure out, okay, do I like this? What's really involved with this? It's kind of like a job shadow in a way. Cool. So that's what I would recommend is just figure out what you're passionate about and then see how you can volunteer in that space.
And then see how it incorporates into your company or the brands you work with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one way. There are other ways too. Like if you don't have time, because time is I don't know, time, money these days. What's more important, right? You can buy like we were talking about, right? You can buy from brands that share your values. You can seek out B Corps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's
and how do you
really,
seek one out? How do you find B Corps?
Well, it depends what kind of business we're talking about. There's obviously the B Corp logo. I don't know if we have it here. Flash it up.
Yeah, it'd be on the screen. Yeah.
But look for the B Corp logo for, like your soaps or your chocolate or whatever it is, your vitamins that you're buying that's on this shelf. And then, when it comes to a business like mine, you're going to find that on our website. I'm not sure what you're going to do with it, but maybe it's on your door, maybe it's on your business cards. Yeah. And you can also go to the B Corp website and just look up different B Corps. Yeah. Who you might want to deal with. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And those that are interested in learning more about B Corps, where should they go?
Yeah. Go to the B Corp website.
Okay.
It's got a wealth of information there. You can access the B Corp assessment there. And there's also links to different contacts depending on where you're at. There are different we call them B local groups. I think there's one in Vancouver and then there's one in Toronto as well, I believe, where you can actually, in real life again, kind of interface with different B Corps or
ask some questions, get to know them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what pushed me over the edge, was meeting another B Corp. So Ethical Bean, one of our clients, and I saw what they were living and I saw what they stood for and stood why putting that emblem meant more than just doing a check every year, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was seeped into how they operated their business.
Yes. Yeah, it's real, right? Yeah. And it really does cause you to think differently. It's kind of that additional lens that you can apply to your I want to make profit lens or whatever that is for you. Yeah.
And you're working with an agency now, Rethink, which again is a national agency in Canada here, and we're talking about one of our favorite people, Leah Gregg, was working there for a long time, and which is very cool. So what would you say makes a really good agency brand relationship, and maybe some things you love about Rethink? You can gush on them for a bit.
Yeah. Agency brand relationship, I think it's really coming down to what do we both want here and why, right? The motivations behind what we're doing, and I've seen that a lot where it gets lost in terms of the concept comes through and you're kind of like this as a client, maybe you're saying this is hitting the mark, but maybe you didn't get the full story as to why. And so I think it's important to be careful in terms of how we're sharing that information during the creative process, right? We're not just kind of flipping things in an email. And I know that we used to be really good, companies and agencies that either I remember when everything used to be done in person, right? But now it's usually on a call. But then the odd time now, or more often than before, things can kind of just get passed along, and sometimes that can be a mistake, and we really need to hear each other out and understand each other. And
the board where you put it on the sheet and then pull it back, and the next sheet's up there, right? Like the big what's that board called? Our kids use it for projects. We did it for science fair. It was like the big piece of cardboard. You see it in Mad Men, and they'd have and then they flip it and they pull the next one. And then this, and then they have a big pointer stick. And,
exactly.
Have you been to one of those at Rethink? Do they do that? That's a bit old school.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, okay.
No, everything.
Have you been to their offices?
Oh yeah.
The Lego room?
Many times.
The Lego room.
Yeah, the
amazing.
Lego room is super cool.
And
their whole office is really cool.
The front door, I don't know if they changed it, but it was a Pong game when I first visited there.
They have ping pong. Their meeting rooms are actually ping pong tables.
And what's the floor? It's like it's not.
It's it's like AstroTurf.
AstroTurf.
Yeah. And I think so. It's taking the time to understand where the different groups are coming from. And it's just kind of applying that partnership model, right? That thinking that we're in this together. And we've worked with Rethink for a long time, and I think that's why. And it's like any relationship, there's going to be kind of ups and downs in terms of finding that mutual understanding and getting to good. But actually, that's what creates the magic, right? And we know that Rethink is so brilliant at. Yeah.
Anything else that you'd like viewers, listeners to know about before we wrap up?
I think maybe from a marketing perspective, B Corp is great, but I just think it's really important actually that marketers and communicators and business people are thinking about that whole sort of purpose piece, that social purpose piece, because I really see that is the way that this ship is sailing.
Yeah.
Consumers more and more every year want to do business with companies that share their values, right? They are saying that they want us to be taking a stand on social, environmental, even political issues, right? And so we need to figure out as organizations how to do that in a way that makes sense for us, especially if you think about millennials to some extent, but Gen Z coming into the workforce and the transfer of wealth that's going to happen to that group. It's just
we have so many
incredible.
options.
Yes.
What's going to make you stand out
Yes.
amongst the rest, because you're going to have that emotional feel good. Yeah. Like even when I go to book a flight, and again, we've had both Air Canada and WestJet on the show, but I have this emotional reaction still to WestJet because of that Christmas video years ago. Like it was years ago, but they tugged at my heart. They made me cry at my computer screen because of a video. And if you haven't watched it yet, it's the
Santa on the beach. Is that the one?
It was people could at one airport terminal put in their dream gift. And when they flew to the other terminal, their gifts were on the carousel coming out. And it was just so touching. And I think, again, so I tend to lean towards WestJet because of the emotion that they put in my heart, right? Or I tend to lean towards products that are like, wow, I know the story behind the product.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Or the founder behind the product.
Yes.
Right?
You have a personal connection, an emotional one.
Yeah.
So much more important than the information, right?
Because everything's transparent now. And that's the other crazy part is like you can't get away with anything.
No.
Thanks to, Facebook Live.
Yeah, thanks to
LinkedIn's
social.
going live soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you're saying everyone, no matter what you are, tire company.
Yeah, but make it authentic. Like, don't just pick something and be like, we have a cause, and try to build yourself on that, because that's not going to work. Like, it's got to be something that makes sense for your business. But as marketers, be thinking about like, how are you going to be potentially integrating this in a way that makes sense for you? Because guess what, your consumers are going to be wanting you to take a stand on something.
And they're going to find out.
Yeah, they're going to find out.
And it's not just writing a check. Maybe it's just internally you're marinating in the idea of being good and doing good.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Wouldn't the world be a better place if we all did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And less charities.
Yeah, less charities. Put them out of business.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This was a very inspiring and unique marketing jam. Very cool. And I'm excited to see what comes of this talk and this conversation. So keep us posted. Let us know your story. And happy B-Corp month here in the world, right?
Happy B-Corp month.
All over the world, right?
I think in Canada and the U.S.
Canada and the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of the world, we still love you. But Canada and U.S., happy B-Corp month. And we'll see you on the next Marketing Jam.